Well, welcome to the drumming circle. As I said already, let me just, before we jump into things, let me just give you a couple like highlights and things to think about that are part of our community. Is that in December, Rod over here retired from being a pastor at the village. But one of the things that Rod has always said, once an elder, always an elder, even if you don't hold the elder position. So Rod is still an elder in so many ways at the village. Um, but I would say that Rod has taken this year off in the sense of like he's not doing any ministry here at the village. You won't see him preaching. He probably isn't going to meet with you unless you buy his lunch, that kind of thing. He's just taking a deep breath and that kind of thing. But according to the email on the food list, and this is just a cool little thing, if you have questions about serving the people of the village food, apparently he's still the guy that you're supposed to talk to. So Rod is still the guy. The other thing is, before I get into the financial things, because I'm not going to talk about this too much, but because this is I really think this is the Palmer's story. If you want more information from the Palmers about what's happening in their life and that kind of thing, I would really encourage you to talk to Teresa or Darrell about things, contact them. But I will say there's a couple really good news things. When you have a lot of children and you're looking for a home, there's not a lot of places out there to rent when you got 6 kids. And it's very, very expensive, and they didn't have great renter's insurance. But the place that we found them to stay works for them, and they were going to have to leave in April, but the missionaries who were going to come stay in the house are now just going to stay in Phoenix. So they have that home indefinitely, which is very exciting. And the village has been able, we covered the half part of their rent when they went in there, and then we've been able to cover the last 2 months, and they're going to pick up they'll start picking up the rent from there. And they're in a really good financial state, and the village and also Darrell's work have really jumped in to help because the renter's insurance was not great. It gave them $5,000 for replacement of their belongings and a single check of $1,000 for rent. So that is not a good thing. But for those of you who know anything about USAA, his father has USAA. He was renting from his father. And once the house is rebuilt, because his father is rebuilding the house, they are going to compensate him for lost rent, for 20 months of lost rent, or $20,000, which would be 20 months for them. And he's going to pay that forward and give them 20 months of free rent in the house. So that is really beautiful. That's good stuff. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. And it doesn't mean like once the house is rebuilt and stuff, I suspect they will have more needs because furniture and stuff like that. They do have a storage unit. So if you do see a great deal on a bunk bed or something, you could check with them and say, I found a great deal with a bunk bed. I want to get it for you. Do you have room to put it in your storage? Is it something you need? So they're still open to all that. So I just wanted to like lay that out for you before we jump into things. Third thing is, theoretically, this year is supposed to be my sabbatical year. I was supposed to take sabbatical in 2020, but nothing happened in 2020 for a lot of reasons. So I didn't take sabbatical for the last couple of years. So this year, the whole Radical Discipleship series, I took off time from hanging out with a lot of you, and I appreciate those of you who have been patient with me on that, so that I could try to develop this study and start working it into a book and that kind of thing. So I really appreciate that. Part of having a sabbatical year is just allow me just to leave whenever I want to leave. So I have left a couple times. Sue and I are headed to Boise this next week to go to a conference on the problem of evil, how the church addresses that, a racial and ethnic view of the American church and how the church handles disabilities, and then also the future of the church, and then a pre-conference that we'll be going to, which is an academic presentation on the role of women in leadership in the church. So, very excited about that, but that's part of the sabbatical. But then in June and July, Sue and I will not be here. My kids refuse to take sabbatical, so you'll see them. They don't like following us around to other churches and pretending like we don't go to the village. So you'll see them. They will be here. They are loyal people to the village. Oh no, which is a good thing. So anyway, I said all of that. That's just sort of the things to give you a heads up. I will say that honestly, I have been super exhausted. This has been a long couple of years. All of the pastors have been exhausted, but yeah, it's been a lot, and so I appreciate your kindness and comfort and all the good things that you've offered us as a church. So with that said, we are going to try to present to you, this is what the village does, and this is who we are. And we're not like a very traditional church when we do financial reports. And if you really want to sit down and work out the numbers, or if I go through the slides too fast, you can go to the website, villagersonline.com right now, and get your phone. And if you click on Drumming Circle, you can click on a link there, or you can just go to where all the posts are, and you can get the slideshow that I'm doing right now, and you can flick back and forth through the numbers if you want to see that. But we're going to do a whole bunch of presentations, and hopefully you'll get really excited. So, I, as a little kid, grew up in these financial presentations, and they were absolutely boring, and I didn't care. At Village financial presentations, no matter what the news is, we clap and cheer, right? Okay, so that's how it works. So let's just start there, but I will need to be able to click, Michael. There we go. So here we go. This is how much money as of the end of February we had in the bank. $452.30. Now let me just tell you, the Village has never been a church that has funds. We have a general fund. There are some exceptions to that, but we have funds. General fund, meaning we don't say, okay, there's an organ fund and we put all this money in for our organ, or we have the parking, the parking lot fund, or whatever. So if you write, so we don't have designated giving. So if you write, special check for Eric. Sorry, it just goes in the general fund. That's how that works. All right, but we do have a couple special ones, and we create them for emergency circumstances. So let me show you the two funds that we have for emergency circumstances. Number one, okay, here's the general fund. This is how much money is in the general fund. Here, $47,098.82. And here are the funds that we have. So we have had a cancer relief fund, and this started when Sean Bloom died, and Samantha was left with 4 kids, and in dire circumstances because they did not have life insurance. So this fund was started, and right now there's somebody who basically gives on a regular basis to this fund, and so we have $2,874.74. Usually the distribution goes to a couple things to help out with education, to help out with replacing of appliances, and to help out with counseling. And we also have, for a very long time, paid for the weed lady at her house. Not the weed lady, but the weed lady. Just so you know, we are not landscaping lady. We like to call her the weed lady. In order to keep the weeds down so that it wasn't, because it was becoming relatively oppressive, and so we paid for that. But anyway, it's to help her out. But we've also used this fund when Vicki came down with cancer to help out Larry and Lindy cover some of the costs of taking care of her. So anyway, that's how that works. The other one is Spaces to Learn. Yoo-hoo! And we have quickly distributed money that comes through, and we've gotten grants and all that kind of stuff. But right now, we have $3,478.74 in that. That is all designated, and Jessica will tell you where it's all going soon. Okay, let's talk about how much we owe on the mortgage. We have a no-interest loan, and I'm pretty sure this is the right number. Then this is what we owe. So, yay. Yay! Yeah, that's very, very cool. All right. Okay, here we go. So this is the Village Community Giving. I want to quickly just show you the number in parentheses is the amount that you guys gave as the village. The other numbers are numbers that come from outside sources. You will notice in 2020 we had a large boost in giving from outside sources, and that is because we were gifted $60,000, one of the larger gifts that year. And that, anyway, so that's where that is. That's why there's that difference. You can notice in 2021, our giving dipped. I would say right now in 2023, just as an emotional, spiritual, all the different O's that you can think of people in our community, like how we are, I'd say we are just kind of getting back to where we were in 2019. Just kind of in the different healthy aspects of who we are. So we'll talk about what that giving looks like this year, but that's where we're at right now. That was what 2022 looked like. Okay, so the leader said they wanted me to tell you where your money went and how it was on mission, and this is the fun part to cheer about. So your missionaries in Classes, Arizona, which is the denomination that Mark and I and Rod belong to, that's where our money went to. Cheer, yay. Okay, good job. All right, helping people with the basics. We gave $696.12, and we helped with a relatively large high-interest loan that we took over and gave as a no-interest loan. We bought a car, and we have paid for rent for people. So that's kind of how people in our community who needed help there. So that's really very cool. All right, so food everywhere, everything, all the time. This is how much we spend on food, from Sunday services, drumming circles, women gathering, art night, game night, makers camp, pastors, hospitality budget, living room talks, hosting classes, which is the big denominational thing that we've hosted here. And I know it says retirement parties, but we only threw one last year, and that was Rod's. And it was we went all out on those things and on that party. So that was so much fun. So that's a really cool thing. All right, here's another expense that you should cheer. This door right here is replaced. It's good. The one in the entryway over there into the kids' wing is being replaced. It is 2/3 done. If you see this hardware on these doors, that hardware is a nightmare to put in. So Ryan, if you ever see Ryan, you just need to say to him every time you see him, "Hi Ryan, it's so good to see you. Thanks for doing the doors." We got an estimate just to put in the doors. We got an estimate from somebody else other than Ryan, and it was about $2,000 to $3,000 just to put the door in per door. So he has offered a lot, and it was his first time in doing that one because he does not do commercial doors. So just thank him. That was a big deal. Very big deal. So that's the cost of the doors plus a little bit of like the framing, well, all the furring out and extra little bits that he had to do. All right, podcast, Healing City, Faith Over Breakfast, and the Village Sermons. All that goes out to the world. Just so I put some data here for you. So this last year in 2022, there were 15,520 downloads and an audience of approximately 300 people who listened to those 3 podcasts. That does not include the music. But the cost does, because there we go. We stream music, and some of that music, we make about $100 to $120 a year on the music, on some of our monetized music. But here's the thing. If you're like, I would like to make the village some pennies, then you just stick your listening to on YouTube or Spotify or Pandora, and that monetizes it, but you'll need to listen. I think, we had one hit song early on when we did this, and it played 10,000 times, and we got $400. It was my little brother's song, and it was a song he did in high school recording that we took up of a little tape player, digitized, put it on, and it played 10,000 times, and it got $400. But after that, we haven't, it hasn't made us a lot of money. If God Were Dead, I believe. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, but most of the songs have made us $1 or $2. So we need about 100, 150 to 200 listens to get $1. So So just keep plugging away, guys. It's going to be good. But the exciting part is that people all over the world listen to this music. If you look at the layout, it's just all over the place. And last year there were 23,000 streams over our different streaming things. So that's a pretty cool thing. All right. And that I'm going to need some help. Okay. But net income, I thought that was it. Last year in 2022, we were in a deficit, yay, of $20,186.45. Why, you might ask? All right, well, some of the things that we had to dip into the savings account is the doors. We had to decide, yes, this is not really in our budget, but we will go ahead and fix them. Helping people, we probably gave out $5,000 more than we normally do, and helping, and then paying Michael Kuzno. So we got a grant that helps out with paying Michael, but we started paying Michael in September, I believe. And for 2 of those months, we were also paying Rod. And we weren't getting a grant. So that comes out to $6,544. And then Rod again, we said we were going to go all out. And so that big old retirement party, which wasn't necessarily in the budget because we were just like, yeah, we'll throw a retirement party. Oh, a good one costs some money. And it was beautiful. I mean, he called it his funeral, but it was beautiful. And so you can see that pretty much gets us very close to close to where we were going. All righty. Okay, so let me give you the budget that we've been operating off of. I know those of you who don't have great eyes probably can't see this, but you can just look it up on your phone. But let me just show you how it works out. Administrative budget includes things like insurance for the building and the pastors. And when I say insurance for the pastors, I'm not talking about health insurance. I'm talking about if we counsel you and then you accuse us of something terrible and sue us. That kind of insurance. Payroll, postage, the office, like yesterday or the other day, the USB hub died, and we had to go replace a USB hub, not a hive, but a hub. That kind of thing. Discipleship costs are really the big dumping ground for almost everything that happens, like from food, from like the supplies, the plates that you eat on, to the food that you eat, to if your pastor takes you out for coffee, most of the time, he's not paying for it out of his own pocket. Things like that. Also helping other people. So that $11,000 also comes out of the discipleship costs. Facility cost is our mortgage payments and just small amount of general stuff, fixing, replacing lights, that kind of thing, little facility things. It does not include big projects and stuff like that. Our utilities have been gradually going up. Surprise, surprise. So they're about $12,000 a year. Our personnel costs, so that means for my salary, Mark's salary, Michael's salary, what we pay Susan and what we pay Jessica, comes out to $144,000. Worship equipment, let me tell you, cords, mics, the computers break, all that kind of stuff. Drumsticks that repeatedly get destroyed. That's where that goes. And then Ben and Christy plus the CRC is $10,000. So, so that's a budget of about $220,000. You say, well, wow, that's a lot less than you guys, or more than you give as a church. Yes, it is. So let me tell you why we might be moving in that direction. Partly because we just feel like this is the way God's calling us, and what we're just going to act in faith that this is what's happening in our community. Because when we look at our church, and we have a huge what we call an elder shepherding list. That elder shepherding list has about 168 people on it. And so we are a growing community. And so growing communities cost money. But the good, hopeful part is for January and February, the village itself gave $33,000, basically. And we have our grant coming from the Christian Reformed Church, actually the Arizona classes, to help pay for Michael's salary for the next 2 years. This is exciting, yeah. So here's the encouraging part. For the last 2 years, so 2020 and 2021, the average village giving was 20,000 at this point. So there's no abnormalities in this. It looks like the village, you guys have started giving more, and there are more people giving. And I would encourage you to continue giving, because at this rate, we will meet the budget, but in 2 years, we will be taking Michael's salary on fully, and the grant won't be covering it anymore. So hopefully we grow as a community, but we are relying on that grant. And also we do have still a number of outside givers who love the village and help, but that has been moving downward over the years. So there's where that is. So the leaders, and those cute pictures of the church, wanted me to break down the salaries for you so that you know how much everybody makes. So I made it really small because I thought that was stupid. No, I'm just joking. You can look on it right here. So says that I make $48,802. Mark makes $42,564. Michael makes $40,764. Jessica makes $6,600. And Sue makes $5,100. Let me just quickly explain to you what they all do. Yes? You do. Yeah, you do. It was cut in half. Yeah. Well, I'll have to go back and check that. Wonder what I was basing that on. Anyway, well, we'll fix that. She makes less, guys, so that's apparently a better thing. Woohoo! Money saved, guys. Somehow I made a mistake there, and I don't know how. Never mind. We'll get back to that. Okay, so just to start with Jessica, a couple things. So Jessica and Susan split Jessica's job a year ago. Yes. And so what Susan does is you get the newsletter. She coordinates band stuff. She makes sure all the volunteer stuff is happening. So making sure that you know what you're doing when you're volunteering, making sure that spots get filled, and making sure that the newsletter with all the information goes out and all that kind of stuff, and goes to staff meeting and helps organize things. Jessica is my admin. So a long time ago, when Rod thought my brain needed to be organized, he said that I needed to hire somebody. And so Jessica has been my admin for how long? 5 years. And the church is much better for it. And my wife is much better for it. Because she helps organize, but she also helps me kind of figure out what I'm called to do and what I'm going to do and how to do it, and gets me lined up on the things I need to do, but also any kind of event that happens at the village. So Makers Camp, drumming circle, living room talks, any kinds of events from women's gatherings, game nights, all that. She's making sure those things happen and people are contacted and it's all organized and we have it all laid out and where it's supposed to go. So that's that. But I just interviewed the pastors and thought through kind of what I do and stuff like that. And here's a little bit of the data. And this is what's so great about the church that really cares about paying its elders to elder, is that on a weekly basis, approximately 70, 80 villagers, not including Sundays, get face-to-face time with one of the elders in the village. That's exciting, somewhere between 30 to 35 people in the village are in some kind of intentional discipleship with an elder at the village. And or a pastor, so that would include Susan in that process. You get FaceTime with her or discipleship. So there's a lot happening, and that does not include Sunday. And Sunday, all the elders and Susan are here all day engaging with you and engaging with new people. But not just that, all of your elders and pastors do stuff in their neighborhoods and are engaging their neighbors. So they're on mission. They're shepherding and ministering to you, And they all come in under the average pay of a pastor in Tucson. So they're far below the average pay of a pastor, which is somewhere like 57,000 in Tucson. So that's kind of what they're doing. I was needed to tell you those things. I obviously need to figure out if I did something wrong with Jessica's pay, but we'll talk to her about that later. All right. So that's the financial report. I will say, if you have questions or some things don't make sense, or obviously some of my math is not working out, or you want to be more involved in helping run the finances and doing some of the bookkeeping, I would love your help, but I will put a caveat on this. I want you to be 35 or younger. And here's why. The last time I had someone who was older do the finances, I need somebody who's going to do it for a long time and who's going to take it over and make it happen so that they don't leave and then I take it back over. So if you're interested in doing the finances, and if you're older and you're good, you can help me do stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I would like younger people to be the people who are helping so that they can take control and do that kind of stuff. So you're interested in helping with finances, talk to me afterwards, and I would be happy to integrate you and then delegate it all to you. So I'm happy to do that. All right, so Jessica is going to talk to us about Spaces to Learn, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how the money is divided out. So I'm going to put it back to that amount of money so she can talk. Let me give you a microphone. Yes, but there's no video.
No, it's not being recorded. Oh, okay.
It is being recorded, but there is only audio. No video. It is being live streamed. Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay. Spaces to Learn. I've had people outside of the village ask me what's going on with it. Basically, I had a baby, and I was not pursuing anything for a while. But also the pandemic, I guess we're still living in it, but kids went back to school, so the urgency kind of went away, but there are still kids that are in need. For example, refugee families that they come here to Tucson and they're starting over and their kids don't have, a desk at home. So what we've done is decided that $1,000 is going to go to the Palmers when they resettle to wherever they're going to live afterwards. So $1,000 is going to go towards getting their kids everything that they need to set up a space to learn at home. And then $2,478.74 is going to go toward, I'm changing the model a little bit. So instead of us buying the things and then having it here, we're probably going to give out gift cards. So when people get referred to us, or when I reach out and say, send me names of people, then we're going to give them gift cards so that they can purchase the items that they need. So we don't have storage space anymore like we did with the pandemic. So we don't have the luxury of storing things everywhere. I think that's it. Any questions? No? All right. Okay.
The website is no longer up, the Spaces to Learn website. Oh, is it? I looked for it. I could not find it. It's down. But if you type in Spaces to Learn Jessica Dennis, you will find the Channel 4 interview with her, which is really cool. Like our whole thing that in 2020 was produced, she's interviewed, and they call the village My Village Church. That's what it's called. So I thought, well, that's how they refer to us, as My Village Church. Your Village Church. All right, before I move on, is there any questions? I can answer a few, other than why are the numbers wrong with Jessica's pay? There you go. Then if you stop paying for the website goes down. Yeah. So, but yes, it's very exciting that we can distribute this money. And I don't know where I put the clicker, so you can click me to the next slide. Oh yeah, you have to click.